the mystery of the lost food continues as I'm very hungry and my food is non-existent and I'm actually really grumpy because I didn't get my burrito. Now, we've got a game. Got a game in LCO to talk about too, which is much more important than my belly and how hungry I am. But also, hangriness is a condition that I'm prone to. So, boys, you're going to have a rough time on the desk for the rest of the segment. Let me tell you that. But anyway, it is going to be Order and Gravitas coming up as match number 3 of the day, of course. This time, Order have a bit of an easier affair going up against Gravitas, but Order's form lately, you know, it hasn't been optimal, hasn't been as well as they started to play when we first started with the LCO. So Gravitas, it could be an opening for them to cause an upset here.
Yeah, I mean, we call the Gravitas Order matchup an upset for Gravitas if they win, but I don't think there's like a huge gap between the two rosters. I think that Gravitas have shown us enough to at least, you know, have this match be very competitive. But, you know, on the side of Order, while we're on them, you know, Vengeance for me has been a standout as well as Maximize, you know, but not every game. And I think that's what we want to see from them, right, Skimmy? We want to see a consistency. We want to see them performing at that level every game. Obviously, you know, Maximize being the rookie might be a little bit tough for him, but, you know, when they do play to their level and they play to the expectation that we have of them, they're one of the best teams in the league. It's just whether or not they can do that all of the time.
Yeah, I think there's no better proof than the last game, right? The fact that he was playing the GP, was making these massive combos with the cannon barrage you can see on your screen right now. In a few situations where his team is already dead, as he's looking to try and disengage and say, hey team, look, this is a very real, you know, winnable condition, right? And he's need a little bit of uptime, hit some barrels and pop off from there. So Maximize, it feels like a little bit too much of the burden has gone his way. Puma, when he's on the money, will absolutely 1v9, but a few games has been targeted and being unable to showcase his full potential.
Well, hopefully it is a different story for Gravitas today. You know, they've only got 1 win so far, and it's time for them to maybe get a second up against Order. But of course, that relies on how Order is playing. But let's speak Gravitas. So, of course, this is the lineup they're going to be running with today. Any surprises here, Jubes?
No surprises in particular. I think this is the roster that's performed the best for them. They do have, you know, a few players they can sub in, sub out, but you know, ultimately when it comes down to performance and wins, this is where they've had their most success. Again, we talk about it every week, but Azus and Kyose for me just keep impressing week after week. And again, this is those two players in particular are why I think the gap isn't too big between Gravitas and some of the mid-table teams, because they do have the potential, those two players in particular, to have some absolute 1v9 performances. And we see here, right, Kyose and Azus here ultimately falls down there to decoy, whoopsie, but you know, having some very big outplays, and Safa getting his Camille again will be key in a lot of their wins. But it feels sometimes it's a little bit pick ban it depends on pick ban rather.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm excited to see how they go, and excited to see what draft they get and if it can facilitate.
And also, Jubes, it's worth noting that both these mid laners love Ahri. So we've seen that Kyosu's been spamming a whole bunch. He told me in his last stream, he's like, I really want you to be there when it's happening, right? So whether or not that'll be a ban, I'd be very surprised, quite honestly, if it was. But they both sort of fit the same mold of loving the utility in mid lane. So how they can play around the team.
I actually went to his stream and told him to stop playing Ahri, but he hated it and he banned. He actually, legit, I thought I was getting banned. I got attacked by mods and everything.
That's golden. Hopefully we do get to see some Ahri. I'm hoping, you know, Gravitas may just pull out that knocked mid again. I don't know why. Just, you know, personal preferences. But look, we do have Nat down on the sidelines again for the pre-match. So, Nat, how's the weather down there? Because in Sydney, it's terrible.
It's actually really nice down here. You know, it's a little warm, but you can't complain. It's better than raining, I guess.
Yeah, true. Well, hopefully it's not raining on the two players down there. Who do you have for us for the pregame?
I actually have Chungy and Kyose. Guys, thank you for joining me. I don't know if you heard the talent just before, but they're wondering if the Ahri's going to come out or if you're just going to straight up go for the ban. You're like, we're not going to let anyone do it. Kyose, do you want to comment on it first?
I mean, I really want to play Ahri. Like, I just can't stop playing Ahri. But like, I don't know if I'll actually be able to play it today, just depending on draft, but really want to go with the Ahri, of course, yeah.
And what about you, Chungy? What are your thoughts on the Ahri?
I just think it's a bad champion. Like, it's just conflict for against the both of us. Yeah, like in competitive, Ari isn't a good champion. There's other mid laners that are just better. So yeah.
Of course, all right, that's it. Okay, we're not going to see any Ari then. But I do want to ask, you know, we finished the first round robin. And coming into the second one, how you guys feeling? What are the expectations? If you want to go first, Chungi?
We're feeling pretty good. I would say the first round robin, we weren't really... Like, we haven't found our identity as a team yet, but after today, we should be getting there. So yeah.
Do you think it's been a little bit of a struggle? Like, have you guys lost, not necessarily confidence, but have you guys just been like, what are we doing wrong? Because you started seemingly strong in the first few games, and it's felt like it's dropped off a little bit in terms of momentum for you guys. So do you feel that in the team at all?
I wouldn't say we're losing confidence. It's more of like we're taking it step by step throughout the split. So yeah, leading up to the end of the split, we should be feeling more confident, I'd say.
All right, that's good. I'm glad to hear. And Kyosei, what about you guys over at Gravitas? I know you only have the one win so far under the belt, but how are you guys feeling it overall as a team, and what do you expect as your end results coming into the second round robin?
Right, so like, as I keep saying, we're just like still finding our team identity too. We're really new, just a lot of rookie players, right? So just like looking to become better, and yeah, like we just need to be scrimming more. We need to be looking for more different comps, I guess. But yeah, we're definitely like improving, and that's all that matters. Yeah.
It is true. I mean, as long as you guys are improving, then it's still a win. On the topic of that, though, what area do you think you guys have improved the most in compared to the start of the split?
Definitely in our comms and our macro, right? So we've definitely learned on what like turns means and like how we should be like, you know, reacting to plays more, and yeah, that's the main thing.
That's good to hear. What about you over at ORD, Chungi? What are you guys? What's your main area of improvement that you've just seen so much?
I don't really want to leak too many things about, you know, our problems. I just say we've improved on like, I don't know, just understanding the game pretty much, and then, you know, just facilitating that into like mid to late game and all that.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's why I word it that way, is I don't want you to see it as like a weakness for you guys. I want you guys to be in that mindset that you're like, okay, sure, maybe it was a weakness, but it's no longer a weakness, right? Looking for those points where you're just like, where we can turn this around and we're like, we're going to come in really strong. But the last time you guys went up against each other, were there any takeaways or things that you learned that you're going to implement in the second matchup?
I'm not too sure, honestly.
That's all good. What about you, Kyosei? Anything on the Gravitas side?
Like, there's not much, but like we kind of know how they play. Like, you see Chungi picking a lot of like roaming mids kind of thing. Like he'll be picking TF Galio, and he'll just be playing towards like whether it be top side or bot side. So that's something we've definitely like kept an eye on. And yeah, like that's the main thing.
Alrighty. Chungi, I also just got told in my ear they want to know about your Lilia mid. If you can give us any more details on that.
Yeah, look, I just follow Trovy. I don't think I'll be whipping it out today, but I'm just a big Trovy fan, and he plays that stuff.
I mean, you never know. It might just come through in the draft, and we could be in for a special treat tonight. But guys, good luck with the game. It'll be a close one, that's for sure. And I'll see one of you on the other side.
Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.
There you have it. So thank you, first and foremost, Nat, for asking the question about Lilia mid, because that did not go well for Chungi in the Clash game they played the other day. And I've just been really wanting to know what went into it, but apparently it was a build someone else has gone for. Now let's have a quick look at the predictions, or for this match rather. And I did have a quick squiz earlier on the social media graphic, which looked like all of us went for order today. So I'm not going to be the only one left out this time.
I mean, yeah, you're not obliged to say it. So that's just a very good analytical perspective from you, I assume. I assume you're just breaking it down, and you're like, okay, top lane versus top lane, mid versus mid. Yep, I've ran the numbers, and in fact, it is the probability that Order will win this game. So, Mac, you are a genius. You are not only a pretty mustache, but you're a genius.
Thank you. Yes, I know I am a genius. I've got a lot of brain power up here, lots of cells and stuff.
Lots of cells.
Yes.
And stuff.
Brain
And
cells.
stuff. That's
Actually,
the burrito brain coming in.
I was about to say
right
no
now.
burritos,
Give me
but
my
he's got
food.
cells.
Order. Give me order. They're winning. Cool. Next.
That's it. It's all down to the burrito. You know, it gives you the answer. Now, Skimmy, what are your thoughts on this one? Why have you gone for order? Do you quickly? Do any of us think there is a chance of an upset here?
I think there is. I think with Order in their current run of form, there is an argument that can be made to try and hit them on the back foot, right? You know, as much as an individual will say, yeah, we're not lacking confidence, we're not lacking this, right? They're never going to reveal the inner workings of their roster. Why would you, right? It'd be stupid to do so. But I think, given their current run of form, it'd be very real that Gravitas could hit them with a confusing angle, kind of much like what they did to Peace with the, Nocturne Fiddlesticks, try and catch them off guard and, cause them chaos as to maybe what they've not practiced during the week. So there is a possibility, but I think, though, if we have a standard game, I think Order to Gravitas, they match up better individually.
Well, there you go. And before we do get into Champ Select, let's have a quick look at a hashtag #1 LCO fan that has sent in for Gravitas. So thank you very much for providing the content. And this is DRizzle48, hashtag #1 LCO fan. Love seeing esports brought back to OS and local legends like Sinjubes and Gravitas back in the limelight. So there you go. You got yourself a shout out, Jubes. You want to say anything to DRizzle?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was going to shout him out, but he's obviously already been he's already got his shout out, so I can't do that. But, oh, man, thanks, DRizzle. I've met him before. I've met him at a few league events here and there, so it's good to see the OG fans, still following on and supporting the same team. Not jumping ship through and through. And so, you know what? I'm not going to change my tip, but I hope Gravitas win just for DRizzle.
No, I think that's Jube's changing his prediction. I think we should definitely put him down for. Sorry, mate, you said it.
Quickly,
you've changed.
I would have been mad
also
because, can I say, sorry, before we
it.
finish this, I just want to say is that I actually typed up my predictions at work. I clicked submit, then I deleted and changed because I initially had Gravitas winning. That's how close I actually think this matchup is. I think it's a lot closer, and it was the hardest match for me to decide. So I would be like,
really?
51% Order, 49% Gravitas. Look, keep in mind, I tipped Legacy to beat Order too, and it happened. So I just want to put that out there.
Well,
I can't believe that you think this is going to be the closest one. The toughest one for me to pick was definitely last game. I know there's potential for upset, but I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's probably close too. They're both close, but anyways, that's where I stand, and I've not jumped ship just yet.
Well, before you go jumping any ships, look, you did say you were typing out a storm, crunching the numbers there on your phone earlier today. And I know that you can probably get better at that. And a good way to do that is use Esports Assessment Labs to see how well your reaction time is, how quickly and accurate your typing is with all your fingers and your mice and your keyboards and your bits and pieces. So head on over there and you can keep track of it. Not only use it to get better, but also just assess yourself as well. And you can compare yourself eventually with Skimmy over there. And I'm sure Nat on the sidelines just while the game's cracking, she's going to be in the Esports Assessment Labs as well. But Nat, that is time for Champ Select. So hopefully for you, we get to see some Amumu. Gents, we'll see you after the game.
I'm praying for it.
Fingers crossed. But the game looks very close, so I doubt we'll see that here today, Jubes. What I will question, though, is kind of returning to my main point before about, Kyosei and Chungi. They like to play the same champions in Ari, but brushing past that, they like to be the facilitator. They like to try and aid wherever they can, be it side lanes, be it in those 2v2 exchanges as well. We date our minds back to the last time these two teams played. We had Chungi playing the Galio, so no surprise there that Gravitas is going to remove it. Same then for the Twisted Fate to remove as much impact that can be from the mid lane as possible.
And the Nocturne being taken away from the hands probably of Kiyose and Safa, right? They ran that Fiddlesticks Nocturne composition. So just a headache Order don't want to deal with. And Camille being taken away. So this is an interesting ban from me. Because Safa had made his name as a Camille player, right? And now the Camille player with first pick has also just banned Camille. So maybe they have something up their sleeve. Maybe he's been working on something midweek because, again, if you had to say, for most people that do know Safa, Camille is definitely his best champion. It's just weird that, you know, they're the ones that take that away.
And it is interesting, right? Because the fact is they could choose that, but so could Maximize as well, because he loves to play the Camilla as well. And it might be a case of Gravitas saying, we don't want to invest bans to try and target top lane. We don't want to try and win through top lane. We want to try and put our, you know, resources elsewhere. And you definitely need those situations, right, where you're banning the likes of Renekton, for instance, to try and make that matchup as easy as possible. Regardless, Gravitas is going to open up their accounts here with a Hecarim, a stable jungler that offers a whole bunch, but it does mean that Order can snap up the Udyr.
Yeah. And both are power picks at the moment, right? Udyr being the one that, you know, internationally at least has the most playtime. However, when I look at the Gravitas players and I see Azus, I think, yeah, I would prefer him on the Hecarim, to be honest with you, how he's been playing lately in the OPL and the potential that he does have to pop off. And he's hovering the Nunu. Now, it could be a Hecarim top. You never know. But I think the Nunu hover is more or less just a shout out or a good day to someone. The Thresh being picked here though makes a lot of sense. Doesn't really have a bad lane, and Kiyose maybe wants to stick it to Chungy. Mumu.
He's taunting that at the moment, the double flex.
I reckon Rust is sitting there just absolutely shivering when he sees that.
He's
Mumu
molding out of control,
yeah.
Absolutely. Fresh comes in there, combine it with the Aphelios, a nice, stable, strong bot lane. Guarantees you some kill pressure and guarantees that you can look to try and execute pre-6 again onto the Xayah, which we saw in the last game just find so much success and really open up a condition where, you know, if your team has a strong bot lane, you can look to punish and prevent the snowball before it even begins.
I hope we see the Blitz. Yeah, I was going to say, because historically too, Thresh lanes do struggle a little bit into the Blitzcrank, just due to the fact that, you know, think about how Thresh throws hooks. It's all like no mobility, can't move, and it takes a little bit of a time for the hook to come out. Once the hook lands, still takes a bit of time, and Blitz just, you know, hook is almost instant, and there is a lot of kill threat in those lanes, especially when you call the jungler down. So this is kind of the one kind of punish, if you will, that is available to you when you have Thresh blinded against you. However, the Thresh Aphelios lane is as potent as ever, and like I said to you, you know, a few weeks ago, that is a bot lane that a lot of LCS players that I've spoken to do like playing and find that they have the most success. Just so much kill threat, so much gank setup, and just something that, you know, facilitates quite well. Aphelios being in a mobile... Sorry?
I mean, it just offers so much, right? It's a bread and butter composition. You talk about Xayah, Rakans, Fresh, Aphelios, multiple spring to mind, you know, even the Caitlyn as well as the Morgana. There's those go-to ideas of engage or poke or harass or just, you know, pressure and performance as a result. I wanted to touch on quickly as we get into the second rotation of bans what it really all means. Order have gone the way of removing more utility in the mid lane with the Karma. They have drawn themselves into the conclusion that, hey, Kiyose actually might play the Ahri, and we just want to remove that from the cards. The response from Gravitas, though, given that Maximize has played a fair few games in this Gnar, he's definitely shown that he can play it pretty well, so they're going to remove that. And the Silas is probably the biggest head-scratcher from them all.
Yeah, Silas maybe just a target ban towards Chungy. I'm actually happy Ahri's banned, to be honest with you, from both perspectives. Get to see Kiyose play something else, maybe something with a little more impact. But obviously he's not happy in the sense that he's not going to play his favorite champion. So... Again, we get to see how deep is Kiyose's champion pool, because I don't think he's really been tested in that sense, right? He has played the Karma, has played the facilitating mid laners, but every time Ahri's been available, he's locked that in. So we probably get to see, you know, a different side to Kiyose, and I think sometimes it's, you know, you need that. You need to be thrown into a position where you're maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but it really does start to, if you have a good performance, bring you some confidence, right? Bring you, you know, the mindset of, hey, I can do this, I can play other things, and be interesting to see what he picks up now.
Speaking of that confidence, right, I was just going to quickly mention the fact that Syndra has picked blind because Order must be feeling confident that, hey, we don't think that Kiyose presents much more of a threat anymore, because every single champion he's played has already been banned or taken, so he's going to have to show us something unique, and there's the Orianna. But back to your point with Yorn, right, you know, it's a blind pick between mid and top, so now Maximize has all the counter-picking options in the world, much like a Chippies from Direwolves, right, to try and find the most desirable matchup, save for last pick.
Yeah, but Ornn is that champion, right? It's just going to do a job. I'm going to get to level 13, level 14, be able to upgrade items for his team. So no matter how behind he is, at least he can still have an impact. I was hoping he would pick something like the Scion, as that's being hovered out right now from Maximize. And if you remember, Skimmy, when we were casting OCS, Maximize had some blinders on the Scion, absolute 1v9 performances. So, you know, can he pilot this champion? Yes. Can he have a very big impact? Yes, because there's a difference between staying safe, not really having an impact, and just participating when need be. But we saw him take over games with this Scion pick.
And I think the real key point I'm getting from Order's draft right now is it is all about impact, and early impact at just that, right? The fact is we want to go at you, we want to try and find desirable matchups in all 3 lanes, and even in the jungle as well, right? We want to put the pressure on you, we want to force those 2v2s in mid-wave, we want to try and do a bit of a skilly check between both these support champions as well. We want to say that, hey, look, if you're going to try and scale them through and give artifacts to the rest of your squad, then hey, I'm a sign as well, and I scale up pretty nicely. We just believe that, hey, our team fight translating from laning phase into those skirmishes will just play out better. So, you know, taking into consideration the drafts, I like what Order have, but do you think Gravitas have thrown him enough of a curveball? Is it a little bit too standard for your liking?
No, I actually like Gravitas' composition. So the one thing I was excited about, and it come to my memory after it was picked, was Kyose's Orianna is actually quite good. Not many people know, you know, he's obviously name changed a few times since joining the competitive scene, but back in the day when he was just grinding solo queue and playing, he was almost exclusively playing Orianna with, I think, Lux as well being in the works. So, you know, I always found that when he had Orianna and when he was putting in those Orianna performances into solo queue, he was doing quite well. Now, I don't want to cast the Curse the Man, but, you know, when I see him lock in that Orianna, I get a little bit excited because I think, you know, this is definitely a champion he can pilot extremely well. Yeah, and it is a bread and butter matchup that we see quite a bit, right? We see Syndra versus Orianna, we see the mirror matchups, and we do see Syndra edge out a little bit of a lead early, nothing too significant, but she really does roll over the mid game. Whereas Orianna just needs a few more items, a little bit more time, potentially a Verdant Barrier to come into the mix before Syndra is kind of negated and Orianna takes over those team fights. However, Skimmy, like I said, I really do like Gravitas' composition, especially when you consider nameplates and how, you know, they pilot their champions. But I also do like Order, so I think we're in for a really good game and some very early on 5v5s, early on skirmishes where we're going to see team fights around neutral objectives.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, right? And the fact is, you know, if you're looking at Gravitas, a very strong front line to actually engage first and foremost, a fantastic delivery system there for the Shockwave, and beautiful champions to get out of harm's way with the Lantern, and then a emphasis on uptime here for Piglet's Aphelios to pop off and showcase what it can do. A little bit of limited range here from Order, and they'll be having to force their hand by running into things there with the Udyr or forcing out stuns from Chungy, but no doubt as this game scales, I should say, into the later half, then they can force their hand with a Scion Charge or a beautifully timed and placed Blitzcrank hook. So a nice even draft. I'm excited to see what that all means, and I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, we do have the coach of Order on the line. We've got Coach Omo standing by here, and I'd love to get your thoughts and feelings on this one. It's not been the hottest run of form in recent games gone by. There's no denying the talent on the squad, but you know, how do you look to really try and, you know, bounce back from those occasions? Right, you've got a few rookies, a few players that have already got that experience. Is it easier said than done just to make it as a case of let's pick up the pieces, right, trust the process, or has it been a case of, you know, business as usual?
Well, a lot of the players here, like you said, are rookies. A lot of them are younger. Even the more experienced players on this team only really have like a year of experience. So, well, the players think they want to go far. They want to do their best to split. Obviously, I do too. But I kind of view it as kind of a learning split for them as well, where we're kind of building up the pieces, getting the players some experience, letting them understand how we want to play out different team comps and different goals in game, basically. So it's been kind of rough. Yeah, we are on a losing streak, I believe, so we're going to look to turn that around today here against Gravitas.
100%. That leads into my next question, right? We've seen a lot of unique champions coming out, especially today. Is that something that's really coming out from Scrim culture more than anything, or just a case of, hey, this is the patch that we're playing on, we're seeing the same champions time and time again, let's just run it back with a few of those, you know, OG counter picks and look to try and catch out our opposition on the night?
Well, it's a bit of both. We have some picks that we're really confident in. I think the Udyr is a pick which Vengeance is definitely super confident in. Really good in the meta as well. So we have some confidence in some of the picks. The Blitzcrank is a bit of a... Well, I'm leaking scrims a little bit here, but the Blitzcrank is something we haven't practiced too much, but we have practiced it. So it's a bit of both, where we have comfort as well as we have picks which we think just look really good in this draft.
I'm excited to see what that means going into this one. I'm grateful that you're willing to share a little bit of that, inner workings of the squad going into this one. My final question really would be, when you're looking at different lanes to focus on, we've seen that Beats is such a versatile player that he can, role swap multiple times in his career and come into this one. Do you feel like when we talk about the League of Legends player as a whole, right, the ability to understand different areas of the map, is there a combination of, rookies and talent and hunger and desire, but just sort of the composure that, hey, we've got the mechanics, we've got the experience in other areas that we can bounce back from this one, that, it's well in our grasp with still another full, round robin to go, that playoffs is on the cards?
Yeah, I definitely think playoffs are on the cards for these players, for this roster. As for Beats, like you mentioned as well, I think it's pretty good to have a mid laner swapping over to support. Mechanics are always going to be nice for that. But other than that, I feel like Beats is also a player who has really good game knowledge, one of the better ones in the team in that aspect. So it's good to have him here in a team of rookies. Being a rookie himself, it's good to have someone who can kind of lead the team in that sense. In his new role at that.
And I thank you for... Well, thank you once again. Yeah, thank you for sharing your time with us, and I wish you the best of luck going into this one. As Juice, we've had a little bit of action.
Yeah, both junglers are pathing towards bot side of the map early on. This actually results in Vengeance getting double crab just because the Udyr cleared that little bit faster. And you have to say, Summoner Spell advantage on the side of Gravitas, only using that Ignite, whereas Xayah having to use that heal. But I was watching how Xayah and Piglet were playing the lane early on, and they definitely got the better of the trades into Puma and Beats. So we've got to keep our eye on this lane to see if it's something that remains. And as I say that,
that's what Blitzcrank can do. A hook to the face, and you're forced to dash away. Pops the Summoner heal, they get that one out. Ignite would have been burned. A nice little trade goes across as a result too. So an explosive bot lane to start things off here in the first 5 minutes. Very close to lethal range. And one more cooldown rotation might spell disaster here.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Blitzcrank, right? You can be losing trades for as much as you like, but you land that one golden hook and you're able to just turn the lane state around completely. And we talked about Summoner Spell advantage. Well, absolutely neutral now. Only thing is Gravitas have a good recall timing here. I don't think Puma will be able to push this lane in time. It isn't a cannon though, so depending on the mana situation and how that one plays out, they might be able to get that wave in.
You could also see that they looked, Order that is looking quite content to use that ward. It might look a little bit grief on your screen now. It's just dropped in the middle of the lane, but looking to try and not only deny the lantern, but deny a few of those Order attack clicks to try and win out in that trade. Unfortunately, weren't able to find first blood, but small little mechanics like that definitely can add up. We've seen it happen on the bigger stage.
Good guy jungler holding the way for his 80 carry, but level 6 already for Vengeance, getting the double crab early on. We seem to see this a lot. Vengeance getting double crabs, hitting level 6 a lot earlier than his counterpart, and Hecarim is suffering a little bit in that sense. Shouldn't be too big of a deal though. Hecarim will be able to ding 6 levels soon, and first dragon being picked up, Ocean Dragon. So if you're a Gravitas fan, you've got to be happy with that. You don't have the first dragon, so that means it's not going to be an Ocean Soul.
Could be a Cloud Soul again, though, because it looks like the next one is going to be an Inferno one, and I really do hate to see it. I don't know what it is. I feel like it's engraved into our minds that Cloud Soul is just so bad. I don't know what it is, but regardless, it could be a possibility here. A Mountain Soul wouldn't go amiss. There's definitely plenty of tanky champions here, and that mitigation could prove to be vital in deciding which team wins and which team can survive the Wombo combo that both compositions are possessing. But very keen to see how this Blitzcrank continues to showcase and show up. You heard there from Coach Omer that Beats has all this experience, and it seems to be that sort of go-to discussion right now, right? That when you talk about talent, they have multiple lanes of experience. It means a lot of things. Speaking of experience, and speaking of mid lane, Kyose popping off and pulling out Chungi.
Yeah, I mean, very good laning from Kyose so far there. Chungi did well to hold his nerve. Thought he might use the flash to live there, and I wanted to talk on this before they all in the mid lane. Vengeance's pathing this game has been very good in terms of tempo, in terms of jungle camps. If he didn't go to invade blue buff here, if he just straight cleared down, he would be so far ahead in terms of tempo. Basically, a level and a half ahead. And you see Azus still too scared to clear his blue buff and his Gromp, so might even see a recontest here because the bot lane of Order is flipping. And it is just a very good pathing and use of time from Vengeance. And this all stems from the double crab, right? Maybe a little bit of a mistake early on from Azus in terms of where he put his time or the lane that he passed towards. Maybe not expecting Udyr to clear the jungle that quickly, but now we're in a game state where Vengeance is just completely taking over just in terms of pathing.
And I mean, look at the Parvic. The timing more so than anything is impeccable. Up with level 6. He's then got mid-wave priority. Orianna cannot come here. They pick the Gromp. They steal away the blue. Hand it over to Chungy. His blue buff soon to spawn. And I mean, these small little advantages. Yes, whilst the gold lead doesn't look like much, it's a dragon into that, into a steal, now into a herald. It couldn't go any better right now here for Vengeance.
Yeah, but what I'd like to see from Azus is that, you know, he knows that they're here. He can see his Thresher's vision for him, and he could have V-lined straight for the enemy blue buff, straight for the enemy blue side camps, which he's pinged on the way now. Well, it looks like he's pinged on the way there, but it might be too little too late because the Rift Herald's gone down. Sion can play kind of goalkeeper, if you will, on those jungle camps and stop Hecarim from getting there. So we're just seeing the Hecarim fall behind ever so slightly in tempo, ever so slightly in EXP, and when it comes to this next skirmish, the Udyr potentially just takes over.
Certainly does. With lanes flipped, it does mean that order to get to the Herald first and guarantee it works in their favor. And it will be interesting to see where they decide to try and drop this Herald and guarantee more tempo. It's a slightly different draft here. Yes, as a whole, we both like what we see, but in terms of mid lane identity, you've yet to see the true hard carries for the most part come out of these two players. They've showcased that they can play if needed, but feel a lot more comfortable on the utility. So looking to see how Chungy can look to try and push that early advantage. It's forced Kiyose to go through the Merc Treads as opposed to the Verdant Barrier. There is a fair bit of CC, so I don't mind that whatsoever. It'd be interesting to see where he navigates from here, though, because I feel like Orianna at times can almost feel like a bit of a mid-lane Caitlyn. Needs those item advantages to really pop on off. Speaking of that, Isaiah flashes forward, hits a Lantern, drags in Hecarim, forces out some cooldowns. Puma pops the Featherstorm, and he's already dead before the Onslaught of Shadow comes across. That's the first blood, taken into a second. Kills get traded back and forth, but Piglet comes out ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, before I even go Skimmy, I'm just going to keep my eyes on here. I like this from Safa, putting a bit of pressure on the mid lane here. Might see the Shockwave burn, miscommunication, or just ulting for chunk damage. So Kiyose, again, got good control of this mid lane, and he's down a blue buff too, so laning pretty well there. And just nice little lane gank into for Gravitas, rather. Piglet picking up 2 kills there. Probably a little bit of disrespect. Order needed a little bit more vision or a little more information before they opted in for the all-in. But if your Blitzcrank lands a hook, you're going to go in every day of the week. And just a good punish. Maybe a little bit too early from Isaiah if you're being critical. But nice little lead onto the Aphelios.
Certainly is, and we know what the 2-item spike can do on an Aphelios in times gone by, so no doubt a nice little option for him to play around with. But it is worth noting that Order still have major CS leads in all the areas that matter between both Vengeance and Maximize, and it's only going to get further as they still have a Herald in their back pocket to utilize. Double buff here on the Udyr, and he can literally waddle his way into the jungle of Azus, who says, just give me a break, man, let me do something. They won't find that reprieve, but this is what the hook looks like.
Yeah, so he got hooked off really walking up into range in which the Thresh had no business in being in. Nice flash there from Piglet, flashing the root of the Featherstorm of Xayah. So doing very well there mechanically, just to pick up those 2 kills and maximize his core, but you know, is he going to die? Big boy Sion.
Yeah, very hard to lock him down. Flash through the wall, guarantees the ult away to safety. And with the lane flip, it is Order looking to try and trade on up. They deploy the Herald bot side, look to try and give resources into the pocket here for Puma to make sure that he isn't too far behind on this Aphelios. And the Parving continues to favor Vengeance from dropping their Herald bot sides to now picking up the second Drake.
Well, he's doing a very good job playing off the back of objectives. It's almost like he's pathing with an idea in mind, right? And obviously that makes a lot of sense. He's pathing towards bot lane because he knows the dragon's spawning. Prior to that, he made his bot lane flip for the Rift Herald contest, and they were able to pick that one up. So Gravitas are more in the mindset of we're happy to just trade farm for objectives at the moment. You know, when it gets to the 3rd dragon, maybe the soul, they'll start looking at contesting. But, you know, I think Gravitas know they definitely have the tools to outscale. So they're very happy in that sense to just trade farm, trade plates. And yeah, they're losing out slightly on those trades, or they're losing out in the bank department, if you will, where they have, you know, the safety or the fallback of the dragons, if you want to call that the bank. But yeah, I think they're just happy, you know, playing this one out, farming up a storm and fighting on their item spikes.
Very even state regardless otherwise, right? The fact is that, you know, you're looking to try and trade out turrets, hand that gold across the AD carries and scale on up to get those first mythic items. Maybe look at a soul point contest or fighting over a Baron. Otherwise, farm, forget, forgive, and business as usual. And that seems to be really the case here because, you know, those CS advantages, while slightly favoring Order, it's definitely not enough to, you know, accelerate this game out of control.
Well, the Orianna's actually up CS. And the Merc Treads has a lot of value this game, right? You know, you got the Udyr, you got the Syndra, so Kyose is doing extremely well, remaining at 10 CS per minute. Got to be very happy with that if that's your Orianna. Other than that, yeah, ORD are laning, you know, a little bit better across the board. So, Skimmy, it's almost at a point where, not almost, it is at a point where it's going to come down to execution as opposed to, you know, which team has a lead out of laning phase. There's been quite a few games in the LCO where, you know, we come, or tonight at least, where we say, okay, laning phase has gone quite poorly for this team. Therefore, it's going to take a bit of a miracle to come back from it. But this is definitely very even footing. Yeah. And it almost just going to come down to that little bit of macro, that little bit of micro that can edge you a lead. And at the moment, ORD are the ones being proactive with it, consistently flipping their bot lane, playing towards turrets, playing towards neutral objectives, and you know, it looks like the next objective is going to be that Rift Herald that they play for again.
Certainly does look to be the case right now, because it's worth noting actually, when I had a quick look at these two teams, that they both hold the lowest record of achieving the first turret, both between 14 and 29%, very low, always willing to forgive and, you know, also if anything, give it across to their opposition, saying we've got our, you know, sights set elsewhere, be it CS or going for objectives instead. The turrets, they're an afterthought. They're something that we'll consider maybe 15 minutes onwards, whereas we see a lot of these teams really drive home the pressure of acquiring as many turret plates as possible, 14 minutes, and trying to get all that temporary power for a killing edge. Here we go though, as the turret plates do fall down, Gravitas group up, as the spawning of the second Herald is imminent.
Yeah, and I think, Skimmy, this is where we're going to see the 5v5, right? I saw on the way pings, obviously can't see who did it from the side of ORD, but it's not an objective they want to give away. Look at the item power spikes quickly, let's just take stock. Aphelios has the Kraken Slayer. Keep your eyes on Aphelios this fight. Oh! Hook misses.
Azai there looking for the hook, not going to go on out. Ah, gets stunned! Yeah. Beautiful stun there from Chungy, can't hit R2 and call it a Forge God, and then they steal away the Herald! Vengeance runs in with the flash, but he can't flash out, so he'll fall on down. The Herald is being denied. Gravitas' positioning is just too superior. Chungy once again hits a massive Scatter of the Week, and a fight breaks, but it's a 1-for-1 trade.
I really think that stun from Chungy turns the fight there. It was looking very good from Gravitas, and we see their 5v5 composition and how strong it is when they're able to play a front to back end. I want to see the replay, but I think Asus might have even missed the Hecarim ult at the end there. Could have resulted in maybe 1 or 2 more kills. Misses the ultimate, I believe. And just miss execution from Gravitas. That it could have been a big game changer. They did lose the Herald, sure. Could have picked up 2-3 kills, resulting in maybe a mid turret as well as a top turret. Instead, 1 kill apiece, and Rift Herald going over to ORD. Granted, no one got to pick it up, but you know, it's just those moments, Skimmy, those moments in a game, those moments in a team fight where you need it to go right, it just goes wrong.
I'd love to see now as we actually jump into this one. So the Hecarim ult is still there, so's the Shockwave. The Sun charges him first and foremost. Where do we see this ultimate go?
So obviously Vengeance flashing in for the smite, trading 1-for-1 there. Maybe not ideal, but the Hecarim ult just misses there.
There it is.
And if that lands onto the Syndra did not flash that, right? That's a fear potentially just into a one-shot. And, you know, a player of Asus's quality, you have to be disappointed with that because, again, those little moments that can change games.
Certainly can. But it is Gravitas leading the line once again, despite that little blunder. They're the ones grouping up and staying grouped up as they look to now go and force a fight around this dragon. The third dragon of the game, it's a mountain dragon to play for. Beats hunting, beats looking. Wards are being deployed, but wards will be cleared on out as quickly as they can. Chem tank popped. As Vengeance tries to solo out Aphelios. Hecarim still has his, so they'll be the ones once again looking for the 50-50 start.
Need to keep our eye on Piglet this fight. Last fight, he did so much work as well as Kyose, so keep your eye on the ball and the Aphelios. Gravitas are in first. They have control of the pit.
That they do, getting lower and lower. No, too hard, but they do get a hook. They're taking out Azaya, locked away. Box goes down. Onslaught of Shadows this time hits its mark. Can they hit R2? Shockwave. Yes, they can. Knock the ball up. Shockwave goes across. But this is Gravitas taking the Dragon and taking the team fight win as well. They've taken down 2 so far. They're trading up 2-for-1. The rest of the squad will run for the hills. And Max Range route as Aphelios is popping off. But Chungy, he's already burnt the flash. He's trying to buy some time. He'll find it. And Gravitas will have to be satisfied with just that.
What a team fight from Gravitas. Now, how these compositions function, Skimmy, is whoever gets control of the river or gets in there first, they're going to have an absolute field day, right? You think about Blitzcrank. What does Blitzcrank want to do? Blitz wants to play around vision, sit in a bush, have someone walk up close enough, land the hook. You know, unfortunately, if you're an Order fan, Gravitas are just getting there first, setting up, and ultimately just having the better team fights from Safa being there. His body's there first. He's able to, you know, sacking a little bit of CS, sure, but he's able to just offer that little bit of support so that Gravitas can get in and start the objective. And it's just, it almost just looks like a different team, right, if you're a Gravitas fan. They're just there setting up first, playing with confidence, starting the fights, and they're the ones throwing the ultimates. Like, Azus just goes over the wall there and starts the fight himself and lands a 3-man shockwave into an onslaught of shadows, and really good execution coming out of Gravitas.
A completely different story from the last time these two teams met, right? You think about the situation between Maximize and Safa. It was a Jace into a Gnar. Safa really wasn't having his moment that day. They had Piglet. Yes, it wasn't the best situation for him, but he was up by huge numbers in CS to Puma's Jhin. And I mean, that's what you wanted to say, right? You're saying keep an eye on this Aphelios. He's found those first few kills. He's got a bounty, the only bounty in this game on his head right now. He's soon to hit that second item spike as well, when, you know, with the range, with the right weapon setup and the Moonlight Vigil to pop off and, snipe from afar, it sort of drives him back to the question of, you need this Blitzcrank to hit hooks because you just get outranged. Oh, but there it is! There it is, the max range hook. I even stuttered because I didn't believe it, but it literally grazed his skin. The turret is at distant afterthought. They're just going to force their hand and run straight through, pick up the bot lane, pick up the turret, stunning gun, and run you all down. Another hook on cooldown, a knock up from Sign afterwards, and one by one they fall. And Order say, this is our game.
And one by one, excuse me, that's it. I mean, how can you frame it any better than that? One by one, they just go in. And, I was talking about Piglet. I was like, nice juke. And then Isaiah is the one that gets hit by it because he's juke. Obviously, you prefer your AD carry to juke that hook, don't get me wrong. But then, Safa decides to walk in, probably thinks he's a little bit tankier than he is. And all of a sudden, we're talking about all the good work Gravitas had done. It's a 3,000 gold lead now. And, mostly due to the fact that Order are playing their minion waves much more efficiently, right? If you look at top side now, Syndra's pushed, 2-3 waves into the top turret. They've gone to no one. And the bot side is building up for the side of Gravitas, so that's not too bad, that situation down there. But, over the course of the game, a lot of the time, inexperienced teams, when they play 5v5 compositions, they forget about minion waves and side lanes. So you see Safa's down 50 CS, Piglet's down 30 CS. And these CS deficits are quite substantial and do result in a couple of thousand. And this is... when Order win a team fight, the gold lead will get quite bigger quite quickly, in the sense that because they're farming efficiently. So Gravitas need to be careful not to let this game get out of hand. They still need to remember to farm those side waves. Someone is still not in the top side of the map. That wave is, they're just losing minions.
It's just minions just dying for free, right? There's nobody picking up that gold. That is gold lost. And as you quite rightly say, right, maybe falling into the trap that experienced teams do of needing to group up as 5, needing to force your fight, sacrificing so much to force a fight over the hero, to force a fight over the dragon. You win the fight on a numbers of advantage, but all the small little leads that can be accrued here as a disciplined roster like Order have achieved, right? Of just saying, well, if we're not winning fights, we'll just play the map. And they're playing the map phenomenally.
And when you play the map well, and when you play minion waves well, you actually have a little bit of leeway to lose team fights. I know that sounds funny, but like, one member falls down, 2 members fall down. If you, have that 30 CS lead, have that 50 CS lead in that lane, it's not as impactful as losing that team fight and being down in farm 2, yeah? So, Order, hold that thought, Maximize is just face check.
Yeah, they put a lot of attention into Maximize right now, rightfully so, down to 50%, out comes the Graviton, Moonlight Vigil pop, looking to try and do whatever he can, flashes away to safety, might just burn on down, not going to receive a summon a heal. Going to survive, just for a little bit longer. And, well, Order say, hang on a minute, that's the second fight now where we've been bullied out of mid lane, and Gravitas just had the upper hand with river control.
And they're starting the Baron, teleporting in, so might see someone get hooked by beats here. Okay, misses.
Worth noting that there are still a fair few impactful ultimates available here for Gravitas. Onto the shadows, into the shockwave. Dragon's being picked up, so they know now. It's a 4v5. Let's force the fight. They go straight in. A 3-man shockwave, but it's just no follow-up. They have no DPS. Isaiah has to run away, and Order might just say, well, enough is enough. We trade a kill for a dragon. Now it's even footing.
How funny is it? Whichever team sets up first, whichever team is in the river first is having the success in the ensuing team fight or skirmish. Azus was on the dragon, so they never really wanted to take that fight. Blue trinket does go down, Skimmy. They know he's there. They have pink wards all the way there, so keep your eyes on beats here.
Well aware of it. 8 seconds. They're trying to buy as much time out. Gravitas, he's up and available. He can TP in. He needs to be here. Hecarim stunned. Hecarim looking for a flanking angle.
Oh!
Hits the smite steal. Oh no, Azus has done it. TP's in, finds a kill, deletes Vengeance now, looking to try and wipe as many members as possible. Azus the hero, Safa the cleanup crew, Gravitas smurfing.
Skimmy, will you forgive me if I say it?
Go for it, mate.
I think you watched a few Rift Rivals tapes from back in the day. I'm not sure who was playing or what happened, but what a smite steal. I mean, like, Azus was 100 health from falling down. I can't even get my words because that's how low he was, right? He was one skill shot, one ability, one auto attack from falling down. Auto were just on different pages, weren't able to get the execute onto Azus, and he just flies on in. And I think almost mid-onslaught of shadows, he goes down, but he's able to land the smite. And again, maybe Order feeling the pressure here to force this Baron and force something they didn't need to. Look how low he is.
Wow.
When he gets on in, and the ensuing team fight, Order have no juice in the tank. They have to flash away, and they live to fight another day, but they lose the Baron. They're still ahead gold, so if you're an Order fan, still positive in that sense, but what can Gravitas get with this Baron now?
Unreal turn of events there. And I thought Order had played it so well because they'd locked him in place with the stun, then they brought him in with a hook, they'd laid the CC so beautifully, but he managed to find a split second to hit that ultimate button and guarantee himself a drive-by smite still. Beautiful turn of events, but we're not done just there.
Oh.
Okay, a nice little hook there from Beats ensures that R2 once again from the Orn ult does not connect. But with Baron buff, they're running all through mid again. Forget the side waves, guarantee mid wave.
Yeah, and you know, farm sometimes can be a bit of a foreign concept, and sometimes you don't need it, Skimmy. Sometimes, if you just go down mid, or if you just go down top lane, all the farm in the world doesn't matter, right? As long as you have the numbers advantage, you have the tools to force, sometimes it can work out for you. But, you know, again, keeping in mind, they're in a gold deficit, and that is the reason.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what they can do, right? Because the gold deficit, what was 3K, is soon to be quite close, and that's in part, obviously, to what the Baron can do and achieve. And with another 45 seconds on this one, they're going to pick themselves up another turret, 4-2 now. But that might be the extent of what they're willing to put into this one. They'll get a cheetah recall and empower recall at just that, and look to redeploy themselves onto the map and get prepped for this next Drake.
Skimmy, the thing that I'm concerned about, actually, the more I look at it, in 1 minute and 30 seconds, they potentially have a full tank Hecarim and an Orn with 3 mountain dragons. Potentially.
Yeah.
That becomes a little problematic, Skimmy.
That is a big concern, as you quite rightfully point out, because they're having trouble trying to take out the Hecarim already.
Yeah.
The fact is that, you know, Safa can just TP on in, take out 2 like an assassin, live to tell, and be unkillable. And if you're looking at who really is there to deal with it, you're putting a big emphasis right now on towards Chungi to hit him with a ton of, you know, AP damage.
Yeah. And the one thing I want to see Order do when they contest this dragon objective, if that's something they decide to do, is I actually want to see them pull the trigger. Most skirmishes that they've lost out on, it's been maximized face checking, which is the correct thing to do. But instead of pulling the trigger and saying go, they kind of just hesitant, getting poked, getting chunked, and then they have to make a decision to force another objective. So again, when Order pull the trigger and they're the first ones to go, they look good. But at the moment, it's all Gravitas, you know, saying, let's fight, I'm ready, let's go. We're going to use the Orn Horn. And, you know, to the credit of Order, they've managed to deny the Orn Horn coming through a couple of times. But, you know, how many times can you survive that?
Very good question. 3-man stun comes up. Gyosei goes golden. He's wasted that one. And the Hecarim is dead. The dragon is spawning, but the horse is gone. And now they have no smite. And he's been a core key component of what's enabled Gravitas to find themselves in this position. That is the force you wanted to see come out from Order.
Yeah. And I mean, just run with that, right? You know, there's no reason you can't one-shot the Hecarim. Whilst he's tanky, he's still the jungler, and you have someone, you know, on the Syndra, 3-0-4 with the Liandry's. You know, the Zaya's not weak by any means. 40-50 CS up, has 2.5 items almost onto the Infinity Edge. So, like, the damage is there, the items are there for Order, but the trigger's not.
Well, there's another dragon in their hands, and rightfully so deny what could be the infinite sustain tanky mitigation squad of Gravitas as Safa shoots a wave, gets a lantern out, and lives to tell the tale. Now, with the current state of the game, 27 minutes into this one, it's been a very even affair, the closest of all nights. And we are now starting to see Gravitas put a little bit of attention in towards those side waves. And based on the current projection, I mean, are you looking at this being a game that's really decided over one team fight, or more so over how objectives are played out so far?
Look, obviously depending on game state, minion waves, and what buffs are up and down, this could be a game of a few team fights, you know. The next team to win the team fight, maybe it swings into a few thousand gold lead, but we've seen tonight that lead doesn't matter. So, you know, maybe this game has 1 to 2 team fights in it, obviously depending on minion waves and where they are on the map. We're probably just going to see a trade-in farm, bouncing of waves, bouncing of minions until the Baron buff spawns. As a wise man once said, how come we're not freezing side lanes? If you know what I mean.
It's true.
LS will be watching this and seeing the bouncing of certain minion waves and probably molding.
Welcome to OS.
Chungy's just pushed one completely into bot turret and no one's there to collect it, so it's probably doing the same thing as the freeze because no one's there eating the wave anyway. So
the game's playing itself.
Yeah, so the farm is being lost in that sense, but Safa just has no interest in using his teleport this game. Just straight grouping and looking to force the fight.
The ARAM begins once again. Gravitas sticking together as a 5-man squad, wanting to wombo, forgetting the farm. They feel strong together. They don't want to get caught. They don't want to get picked apart. Maybe the threat of what Beats' Blitzcrank presents them is too scary a prospect to be caught apart.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Here we go. Oh, another hook again. He doesn't miss these. Blitzcrank down to half. The fresh hook goes out. And Maximizer's charged all the way into Narnia. He's dead and gone before the fight even started. Safa lives. And they find a hook target to Zeus again. The smite target, he's gone. Down for 45 seconds. And based on the stuns that Chungy's able to find, they might just look to find a few more.
I tell you what, Chungy's a bit of an unsung hero, having a blinder in these team fights, landing some big stuns and putting out some big damage. And Skimmy, the thing that concerns me about this game for both teams is the tanks aren't tanks. The way Safa went down there and Maximize was a little bit too quick for my likings. And, you know, the Aphelios is just at that point of no return. Desire is also at that point, as well as the Syndra. So, you know, these tanks are almost just bodies on the chopping block. You know, it's like, who can survive the longest? Because inevitably they're both going to fall down.
Speaking of falling down, this Baron will fall down very quickly between the damage that these carry threats aboard and present them with. Out come the TPs, but Zeus does not have that liberty. He's respawned, but he's going to run all the way from base, and he's just not going to have enough time.
Yeah.
The Baron's down to 3k. Will Order look to continue this one? Would they go for the smite steal? Would they look to try and force this one? They're juggling the aggro. Members distracted. Kyosei dies. The Baron goes on through. They pick it up this time. As Zeus rocks up to the party. Needs to hit a massive ult. It's on to 3. They split apart, but that means Puma is dead. He burned Flash, but it's too little too late. 2 members are dead. 2 Baron buffs lost. And as Gravitas redeploy, they've got respawn Thomas to play around.
You see on the way pings here down mid lane, Skimmy. Gravitas potentially looking for an inhibitor, maybe even the end. It is 35 seconds. If they're able to pull the trigger here, Ornhorn is up. Chungy needs to be careful.
Chungy needs to be careful. There is the Ornn ult once again. Knocks up that key target. Chungy needs to hit a massive stun to dissuade the opposition from forcing their hand here. Sap is so low. So tanky, but so susceptible to that magic damage. And Maximize says, where on earth do you think you're going? He charges on through, but he's unable to get enough uptime. They're unable to stack the CC to prevent Gravitas from disengaging.
Both hooks were a centimeter away from landing. And, you know, potentially that's Piglet falling down, and on the other end of the coin, that's a member from Order falling down. This game is just too close to call, Skimmy. And I talked about this being a close one before the game, didn't I? I said, you know, this might be the closest game of the night, and I think this is why. Both these teams are so evenly matched. And I mean, 10-10, gold practically even, and going to come down to execution again, Skimmy. And there's nothing elegant about what's happening right now. You try and digest it and break it down into something that's, you know, a little more elegant. Gravitas are just purely playing the 5v5. If you look at the level discrepancy on Safa, this is a product of... And Beat's going to look for the hook here. Oh. Nice
Ooh,
buffer, yeah, nice
beautiful buffer.
Yeah.
Huge buffer there, making himself unstoppable. But yeah, Bellow's Breath, huge. But it is the case, right? He does not want to collect sideways.
No.
He wants to stay grouped up like this, even when his TP is available. I wondered, would this be a game decided by objectives? They've stolen it! They've stolen another objective. Zeus! His smite key is absolutely smurfing. Ults to disengage away. We don't want this fight. Ah, flashes the Blitzcrank hook as well. Just disengage, boys. We want no more chaos. Oh, Shockwave ultimate after ultimate. They're just flinging out skill shots for the sake of it now, Juves.
This is look, as much as it's not LCK League of, it's not Korean League of Legends, right? This isn't Korean League of Legends by any stretch of the imagination, but I like to call it good fun League of Legends. This is a good game to watch, right? It's just consistent skirmishes, consistent outplays, lots of team fights, and it's just a 1-for-1 against Gimme, right? There's never been a clear 4v4, 4 kills, 4 deaths, 3 deaths. Yeah, it's always just like, oh, we've got one member, we'll sneak the objective. And both teams are playing this extremely well. You have to look at Chungy on the side of Order, playing these team fights to a T, to perfection. Then you look at Piglet playing these team fights to perfection, and it almost just comes down to the battle of these two, right? Is it going to be Chungy? Is it going to be Piglet? And can they facilitate around them?
Yeah, I mean, who can be the hero to rise to the occasion to say that, hey, this is a definitive team fight win. This is a game-ending play, because right now we're just seeing trades upon people sacrificing life or, you know, finding an objective in mind and saying, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm willing to sacrifice my life if, you know, if it guarantees us a trade. So now you find yourself in a situation, you know, Baron and Dragon off the cards for at least another few minutes, and it's Order that are forcing their hand down mid. Aphelios
does have the ornament now. We will mention that. So that's definitely a very big power spike, and you know, you have to, like, that's obviously, that power spike in itself is not in the gold lead, right? That doesn't include itself in how much gold you have on your team, but
I mean, it's dead even basically, isn't it?
Yeah, when you consider that, and I think he's upgrading Oriana's Leandri's now, yeah. So that's 2 upgrades which you can't account for in the gold. Now we'd have to say this game's pretty much dead even again in that sense. You know, team fight impact from these two are going to be huge now. And looks like Gravitas have the inside track to mid lane. Now they'll be able to fall back to the Baron or whatever objective they see fit.
Stopwatch check. Worth noting, it's only the mid laners that have actually got them right now. Yep. Stopwatch is just picked up here by Chungy, as Kiers has already completed himself as zone use. That could be huge, right? Because we talk about these slim margins that these fights have been decided by. And someone to check first and foremost, right? Who has the ability to flash and outplay and pop off? But who has the Stopwatch to try and bait out his engages? Because, you know, we thought this could be in a game that was decided by how beefy these tanks were with the amount of mountain souls that are being collected, but it seems to be rather evident that, you know, with the amount of damage that these carries on both sides present each other with, that, you know, these tanks aren't actually as strong as their items might suggest.
I mean, tanks can only be tanky if they eat farm too, but certain tanks have been allergic to minion waves for a majority of the game, and they've just let them die to turrets. So, if anything, the turrets in this game would be fairly fed and fairly strong. Unfortunately, they've gone down 2 now. You know, Ornn's at 2 items, not going to be too tanky when you consider the Zyra at 4 with armor pen. So, I think that ship has sailed, right? At this point, Safa's more crowd control than he is a tank. But, you know, maximizing the same boat. However, the ornaments for Aphelios is going to make that shred that little bit easier. And I look at Aphelios' items, and Aphelios at this point in the game, and I start to get concerned, because if the front to back is there and he's untouched, you just can't match that DPS output.
Yeah.
And Sion,
as long as he's got the right item set up as well, right? He's going to hope that he can cycle through that sniper weapon, so he's just able to sit back and chill as much as possible. But yeah, talking about the Sion, you know, once again, all to say, you know, if you're putting so much emphasis into winning these team fights and basically AFK until these Barons and Dragons spawn, then I'll just continue to hit side waves, and he's up by 80.
Yeah, but I wanted to see that 20 minutes ago. You didn't. The thing about tanks, right, is yes, you have their team fight, they're 5v5. You want to put the tank in front of your carries, but you could have also just played for turrets, like the Sion did there. He nearly hold that thought. I get the dance. It's the hook dance with hook champions. It's so volatile, Skinny. Oh, Safa might be in trouble. Oh,
yeah, he buffed it out there. Yeah. He was predicting, right? Yeah. But no, Beats holds his nerve.
I thought he might have preemptively used the buffer though and gets caught on the mid wave there, but I think the minion wave saved him. He couldn't get hooked or anything like that. Soul point here for both teams.
We find ourselves in a situation where I wondered, is this decided by objectives? It seems to be the case. Everybody in the river right now. Dragon Soul. Both teams can acquire it. Both sitting on 3 apiece. Up in 10 seconds.
Puma.
And Zeus is so damn low. Already zoned away. Knocked up again. Sapphire just can't catch a break on these ults. R2, it just doesn't exist.
And Puma off screen, just one-shot Azus, so that's why his health is that low. And you know, we talk about the Aphelios being strong. Keep your eyes on Puma.
Azus very low, but we've seen him do it before. Stealing Baron on 100 HP. Needs to stay out of vision. Has a blast gun if he needs it. The Gravitas have no inside track. They're losing vision. They have no idea. Members split. Suffer in the river. The rest of the squad by their own red buff. They don't know how low this Dragon is. They failed a ward as well.
Yeah.
They get a blast cone in. It's too early.
Wow.
Oh no, it's over. It's over. Too early. And it's gone. There is the Dragon Soul here, picked up by Order. And with the spawning timer, they might just rotate through the mids, pick up the raid boss in Ornn, and then maybe look to try and pick up the Baron as a dessert.
Excuse me, I don't want to sugarcoat it. That was comedic? Is that the word?
Tragic.
Yeah. Failing the ward over wall, maybe you can forgive it because you have the Orianna border check. Azus then wants to go put his body over the wall so he can check. Little does he know Kyose's there too. And then Kyose has to flash out of the pit and it's just a no contest.
So awkward. It's been so strong from Gravitas up until that point, and one small lapse of judgment, and it might just cost him the game right here. Chungy popping off, saying, where on earth do you think you're going? He starts it with a stun. Puma collects a double kill, and with a Baron buff, and with a 39-minute respawn time to play around, they might start and finish what they did in the mid lane.
Yeah, and that was a teleport flank coming out of Chungy, and just really heads-up play from him, and a game, honestly, that surprises me. He hasn't been the primary carry for this roster. He's always been on the facilitators, not the traditional control mage mid lane. You know, Syndra is something that a champion that needs to get stuff done, needs to do stuff in the mid game, needs to be the sole point of contention, and Ornn's looking for the horn. Misses again.
Never lucky. Never lucky. Can they put up the base defense? They're going into a Mountain Soul and a Baron-inspired Order squads. They're popping off. They're zoning key tanks away. 2 Nexus turrets fall on down. And forget the KD8 pads. Forget the stat check. End the game at GG.
What a game coming out of the Order lineup. And, you know, Chungy, as I was mentioning before, maybe a game in where we get to see a little bit of maturity, a little bit of growth as a player. Something that he hasn't been put on the duty of doing. But he put on the big boy pants today and absolutely carried the team across the line. And again, super proud of the way that he played that game out and you know, almost created another identity as a player for himself.
Certainly did. Really strong performance there from Order. It was a very close game and one that went down to the wire, but a much needed win regardless for Order. It breaks their 3 losing game streak and brings them back into a much happier state as they come into the second round robin. Mac, good to see the boys back on a winning term, but I suppose they really had to work for that one.
Yeah, mate, I was very scared, especially after the double objective steals coming out from Smite God Azus, mate. That was something to watch, especially the Baron steal 100 HP. You just love to see it. Even, you know, Red Team managing to get the Herald in this fight. That was something no one ended up going and getting the Herald, though, because Gravitas obviously zoned them out after the fight. There's just so many things happening in this match. It was, as you mentioned during the cast, Jubes, extremely entertaining to watch. Not necessarily the highest skill level of gameplay, but damn, it was fun.
I don't even think, like, I think that it doesn't even need to be said in that sense, right? You know, skill level is subjective to like how you click your buttons and certain things. In terms of micro, obviously barring the Dragon Ward, micro in the team fights for players to survive and output the damage they were doing, the quality was there. It was a very good game to watch in terms of micro execution, but in terms of prettiness, in terms of playing the minion waves, in terms of macro, that wasn't there. But I think both of these teams should be proud about how they played team fights and how, you know, the excitement that the game brought to us. But again, Order were just a little bit too good in the end, and whilst they talk about being inexperienced, maybe a little bit too much experience in the late game setting compared to the side of Gravitas, who's another inexperienced team.
I mean, I just look at the situation. It's heartbreaking how close that game was, but the growth from, what, 3 weeks ago to now, it looks like a different Gravitas, right? They really are starting to challenge some of these rosters, and with conventional drafts as well.
The flank
I mean, for me, you know, you're just looking at a lot of these situations. Yes, you can make a montage as to how many of these ultimates got cancelled here by Safa, but the fact is, right, they were grouping up, they were showcasing they are strong in these team fights, and with a few more tweaks over the next few weeks, you know, if you're looking at those side waves being collected with these checkmates being on, you've got to collect that side wave now to your opposition as well. More gold, more ornaments, more damage, and more opportunity.
Look, I think in terms of our predictions, it was a win-win, even if we got our predictions wrong, because just seeing Gravitas develop as a roster and start putting it towards all these better teams in the competition, you know, it shows that the growth that they're showing is just great. They're actually making progress, and that's what it's all about, especially for these bottom of the table rosters. Unfortunately, that's where Gravitas is still going to be sitting, but Order, however, do have another W on the board, and we have Nat down on the side lanes, ready for another interview. So Nat, who do you have to chat to after that 40-minute thriller?
I am very lucky to be joined by probably my favorite post-game Order person to interview.
Awesome.
Vengeance, how are you? How are you feeling after that win?
I mean, I'm feeling all right. To be honest, when you guys said it was 40 minutes, I didn't even realize it was 40 minutes. I thought, yeah, I mean, it's pretty tense. I didn't realize it went that long, and it's kind of rough, but we edged out the win, so I'm happy about it.
Yeah, it did seem like a really close game. Well, like, walk me through it a little bit. You know, it just felt that every time you guys seemed to be a little bit up, they just got themselves back in there.
Yeah, I mean, the early game objectives went really well. I think maybe a few mistakes, but also, you know, the two smites that I lost, even though Hecarim does have, you know, a little bit of an advantage there since he's a good, you know, champion to do that. It's like, it's still on me. It's still my fault. Not really happy about the smites. I think if we, you know, had a little bit of decision-making difference, you know, play more for the fires, play more for the hooks, play a bit slower, front to back maybe more often, we probably win more. But, you know, kind of learned that midway through the game instead. So.
I mean, it's lucky that you learned that, right, and you ended up with that win. But when you talked about that decision-making, who was making, you know, those decisions, the communications, especially around the team fights? Because you guys just seemed to really, like, be able to get a pick-off, but then objectives, it just wasn't really there.
Honestly, everyone was talking. Everyone was extremely vocal. We do have, you know, shot callers, but it ended up being that we all talked. So, you know, definitely calling needs to be a situation where we practice in scrims. Kind of messy, but, you know, still, like I said, the communications were better later on. Played smart and just won the game off that.
Yeah, it is, you know, really good to see you guys like turn that one around. Did you feel that Gravitas had like just improved like a crazy amount, or do you feel that it's more a little bit on you guys as to there's a lot of areas for improvement?
We have a lot of areas for improvement. I mean, for them, I think, you know, their mid laner didn't do too hot. I think their jungler did well, other than taking, you know, like, you know, waves of XP. Other than that, I think, you know, yeah, the rest of the team played well, but at the end of the day, I think my ADC was better. You know, top lane had good comms. Chungi also played well, so yeah, just a better team overall.
Well, hopefully you guys have a little bit of time over the weekend. You can work out those kinks and come back really strong for next week. Thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you, thank you.
Nice humble appearance there from Vengeance, of course, knowing that a couple of the smites, that is something he needs to work on. And look, Vengeance in particular, I want to talk about a little bit of Udyr quickly, because he made it in again, and I was like, oh my god, Udyr's OP, this is going to be so easy for Order, and then it was just so close. So I'm going to throw this one over to you, Jubes. Do you want to tell me why Udyr didn't look as good as I was personally expecting?
Well, first things first, I think the team fight execution was played poorly early on, in the sense that as a jungler, when you make the decision, you need to make the decision either to play for the smite fight, but that means you can't team fight, or play for the team fight and don't worry about the smite. He opted in an early skirmish for the flash into the Rift Herald, got it, but fell down. And so, like, you need to realize mid-game or in-game rather what your job is on the Udyr, and that's to play either be a nuisance or something that's going to peel. But you can't be halfway in between. And I think a lot of these team fights, their fights either weren't starting the way Order wanted to, or they weren't on the correct parameters or decision-making from Vengeance, albeit had a very good early game. Like, City's team up for success with the pathing, with the early game, with the objectives and the neutral. But when it came down to the team fights in particular, when contests were happening, I think that's where the execution went a little bit astray.
Do you think if he was like, sorry, I want to ask, do you think if he was like more decisive on which one he was going to do, that game would have been just so much quicker? Or would it still have played out kind of similar?
Look, hindsight's 20/20. I do think I do think looking back at a couple of the replays, if he just opted in for the team fight and become a bear that just slaps people in front of his carries, potentially maybe the Rift Herald team fights earlier in the game go the way of Order, and then we don't even have the conversation of a 40-minute game. But nevertheless, your opposition forces you into those mistakes by contesting, by starting the fight. So credit where credit's due to Gravitas for making a contest of that one. Both teams put on an exceptional performance, and I think that that was a very good game to set us up for what would be, you know, the match of the night for most people.
Well, let's have a look at how the next match goes, because this one certainly was a damn thriller. But before we get there, it is time for a break, so don't go too far. After the break, we are going to see the final match of the night, which is going to be Peace and Direwolves. Let's see if an upset's on the cards and Direwolves can get another win on the board, or if Peace won their 7th W. See you soon.
Can't hit R2 and call all the Forge God, and then they steal away the Herald. Vengeance runs in with the flash, but he can't flash out, so he'll fall on down. The Herald is being denied. Gravitas' positioning is just in. He needs to be here. Hecarim stunned. Hecarim looking for a flanking angle. Oh! Hits the smite steal. Oh no, Azus has done it. TP's in, finds a kill, deletes Vengeance now, looking to try and wipe as many members as possible. Azus the hero. So strong from Gravitas up until that point, and one small lapse of judgment, and it might just cost him the game right here. Chungy popping off saying, where on earth do you think you're going?